Hey, everybody, welcome to this episode of Think Business Live. Looking forward to talking to Igor Fedenkoff, CEO of Brybe. It's great to connect with you, and I'm looking forward to talking about your company, which is kind of like a Fiverr, and where you can hire the finest influencers and freelancers for any project. And I think right now everybody's looking for help, right? Everybody's looking for help. I use Fiverr and all of the and many of the other applications that that we talked about for a moment before we got on. But talk a little bit about Brybe and how people best can utilize the freelancers and influencers that they can use to help grow their business.
John, thank you so much for having me on. It's good to be here.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
Well, the funny thing is when we started first, we did identify ourselves to make it easier for people to understand that we are just like Fiverr or freelancer.com. But realistically, we kind of walked away a little bit from the general concept of that comparison. So we're not like Fiverr, we're much better. But in the meantime, the marketplace was originally built just for influencers. We wanted to make it easier for smaller businesses and smaller influencers to connect and actually run social media promotions, because the stigma has been for a while that influencers are just these really high paying celebs that smaller businesses cannot work with.
Yeah.
And on the flip side, for the smaller influencers to get into the space, there were many entry barriers. But in the meantime, pandemic comes, everybody goes either sick or remote, and we figured this is a great opportunity for us to add the ability for freelancers to actually post their jobs on the marketplace as well.
Yeah.
Which is what we did last year, and which makes Brybe kind of unique, because if you are a small, and we try to focus on small business owners, real people, real entrepreneurs that are trying to get their things going, but at the same time, as all of this is there are huge budget constraints, and first thing you got is advertising, second thing you got is probably anything else you can do by yourself.
Yeah.
Brybe gives you an opportunity to find professionals, whether they're local or were niche category, to get the digital creatives done, and at the same time use those creatives for social media promotion. On both sides, you're looking at a much smaller price tag with realistically a much wider reach and a lot better return on ad spend,
Yeah.
hopefully.
Let's talk about real quickly the difference between an influencer, how you define an influencer, right? What an influencer is, and the difference between an influencer and an ambassador.
Ooh, very fine line.
Yeah.
Ambassadors, I'll start with ambassadors. In most cases, ambassadors are hired or contracted by a brand to represent them. Back in the day, we all remember the Jordan and campaigns, and Britney Spears for Pepsi, Michael Jackson. They were technically brand ambassadors. Then you can look at a smaller caliber, and you can look at different athletes, like smaller local athletes, which were chosen by local brands to be their ambassadors. But they're contracted. There are certain limitations as to what they can and cannot do. While influencer is a very, very wide open definition. You can be an influencer as an opinion leader in a certain industry. You can be an influencer as a good looking human being who travels and shows beautiful sights and is followed by a bunch of people. Or you can be an opinion leader in a certain industry or in a certain category or vertical that brands would love to have a collaboration with, because if they have a product or service that fits that certain niche, they would like to be promoted by somebody
Right.
whose opinion is being followed, as opposed to just their persona that is well known.
Yeah.
I think this would be the main difference.
Yeah. Yeah. So sometimes with an influencer, you may not get the return as hiring an ambassador. There's a difference between hiring an influencer and ambassador, and I think it's important for people to know, because I think sometimes people confuse that, right? An ambassador may get you more immediate business versus influencers that may evolve your brand but may not be immediate per se.
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
agree 100%. And
Yeah.
this is something we explain to a lot of the brands that go on Brybe, to set a certain amount of expectation. When you work with influencers, yes, you may have a certain immediate return, but realistically, it is a longer game.
Right. It's more like part of the PR elements of things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I love that. So let's talk about, the business owner that can utilize you, but they don't necessarily know where to start, right? So you have, I think especially in now we're seeing a lot of new business owners. I work with solopreneurs to fortune companies and everything in between. And I think all of those companies can use a service like yours, but sometimes people don't know, wait, how to shift their mindset to actually use a company like yours, right? And so can you talk a little bit about the evolution of the mindset to be open to working with a company like yours? Because I even know, like, when I started using Fiverr and things of that nature, you can think to yourself, like, wait, I'm not talking to anybody, I'm only emailing somebody, I'm looking at examples, we're going back and forth, but the product that I get is phenomenal. So can you just kind of talk about the shift in the way that people do business?
Absolutely. And I love the times we're in, because I think any challenge in time always brings a lot of opportunity. And
Yeah.
we found ourselves in a very, very cool spot. The general remote work has existed forever. There's always been advocates for outsourcing. There have been companies for outsourcing, etc. But what is happening right now is a very different animal, and a lot of people keep hearing or using the terms the future of work, the gig economy, and I think they've been so used and overused that people still don't fully understand what it means. And realistically, just in America, 57 million people now are doing gig work, whether they have full-time employment or not. So for anybody who's coming into this as a buyer, I think the biggest confusing element is very simple questions. Like, simple answers are the truth, and simple questions bring the simple answer. So if you are a business owner, can you trust this professional that you've never met? Can you make sure that your money is going to go where it's supposed to go? These are the top questions. And three, are they going to do the work on time? Like, these are the
Right.
three main things that people think about. With platforms like ours, and I love the fact that we are, although unique to a certain degree, because we're the only platform that hosts both influencers as a separate group and freelancers as a separate group. But realistically, there are many platforms right now in the market and in the space that validate the existence of this industry, especially such huge players as
Yeah.
freelancer.com, Upwork, etc. But at the same time, a regular, like you said, solopreneur or small business owner can understand that they can plan and budget their digital creatives, their digital promotions by using virtually the best specialist worldwide for the price of like 1/10
Right.
of just a regular hire. So
Right.
this is the first change in mindset that needs to happen.
Yeah.
The second change that needs to happen is that it's incredibly simple. So anybody who makes it complex with multiple levels of applications and subscriptions, etc., they're probably not trying to give you a really good service. It's super simple. Just like you said, you go on the platform. In our case, the registration is free. You use this filtering mechanisms to go through 340 different categories of professionals. You pick who you want. You can pick by their experience. You can pick by what they do. You can pick by where they are. And based on the results, each of them has created or are creating or will create preset package services. So realistically, you don't even have to fully discuss or explain. You
Yeah.
can just pick that package, click on it, put in your requirements, and you're in business. But we do allow the direct communication as well. So if neither packages collect, contain, sorry, what you need, then you can contact the influencer or the freelancer directly, go over the scope of work, and then they will create a specified package for you, price it, you make a payment. Again, you're in business.
Yeah.
Um, my favorite fact is that my 10-year-old daughter is on Brybe, actually. And I think she knows ins and outs of the platform just as well
Right.
as our designers do. It's
I
very
love it.
simple. It's super complex in the back, but it's the simpler it is, the more easier it is to use, the faster you'll see the results and the faster you'll become comfortable with using this future of work.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Um, so I love what you've built. Give the 1 minute Reader's Digest version of how you got to where you are today. I'm a big believer success is never a straight line, but talk a little bit about how you got to Brybe.
Me personally,
Yeah.
that's 1 minute. This is going to be a challenge. 26 years ago, exchange student from Ukraine. Was a very good student, enjoyed studying, so stayed for longer, finished my bachelor's in Minnesota, started working as a financial advisor at Prudential Insurance. Loved it. That was great. At the same time, realized that I really don't like working in an organization where you are just, tiny little speck in a big machine.
Yeah.
So the first step of figuring things out was get an MBA. After an MBA, started my own financial practice. Moved from Minnesota to Los Angeles. 2007, 2008 happened. My clients were very happy because they went down about 12% as opposed to 45. I drove myself to the hospital, sold the book, started playing on being a father, opened a wine bar, subsequently started a catering company, subsequently purchased a club, subsequently opened a second restaurant. In basically half a year before the pandemic, I had a good opportunity to sell off both places, which was a blessing. And during the pandemic, a friend of mine reached out on the marketing side, helped him with as a CMO for his company, started building the influencer database. What was a pet project became a separate company, and that brings us up to date.
Wow. I love all of that. That is great. Well, and that just shows it's like the universe sometimes is like there's no straight line of, there's no in a book how you can get to where you are to create an opportunity that is not only relevant, but fits with the market and the world that we're in. So kudos to you. What's one lesson or what's one way you listen to your gut along the way to know when to kind of keep on reinventing yourself?
I think the very first thing is to actually trust your gut.
Yeah.
A lot of us don't because we can come up with different excuses to avoid the hard decisions. In Russian, we say, if you don't risk, you don't drink champagne. I happen to like champagne. So originally, whenever there is a hard situation, first of all, I know that there is always some kind of a solution. I think this would be my best answer. It's right around the corner. It's right underneath a little paper stack. It's somewhere. You just need to look around, just like on a bull table.
Yeah.
When you see one shot and you walk around, you can see different opportunities.
I love it. All right, quick speed round. Favorite business book and why?
Think and Grow Rich. The guy never became rich, but he did a really good analysis of everybody else's life.
Yeah, Napoleon Hill, great book. Best piece of wisdom you've ever received?
Never stop learning, my mother.
I love it. Finish this sentence. One thing everybody should use Brybe for is?
The best creatives you can ever find while promoting them and saving a ton of money.
I love it. And last question. For those who are still hesitant to use this type of service, what's one thing they should do to kind of get comfortable with it?
Still go on any platform, preferably Brybe. Filter out probably the least expensive specialist and try to run through just the full transaction. You may not be happy with the final result, but at least you will try it. Just like driving a stick shift.
Yeah, I love it. I think it's a great idea. Yeah, I think it's a great idea because you'll see. I mean, there's so many that do so much so phenomenal work. So I appreciate it, Igor. Tell everybody how they can connect with you and the company.
Very easy to find, BRYBE, Brybe.com. If you want to reach me, then it's Igor Fedenkoff on LinkedIn. I'll try to answer as fast as I can. Refer to John's podcast. You'll probably get to me faster.
All right, good. All right, Igor, I appreciate your story, your journey, what you're doing, and how you're able to help people at a price that is affordable for many to get things that maybe they didn't think about getting it the way they can get it today. So thanks for creating the platform. Thanks for listening to your gut. Think community. Thanks for tuning in. If Igor can help you, please reach out. Thanks, Igor. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, John.